right. Looks like we are live. Give me a couple moments here to sprout the word. But as you can see, dolphin outfit is on. Dolphin outfit is on. Got the hood and everything. So, just give me a moment here. We're going to be doing a power system ranking stream. Maybe like 2 hours. Just want to put out the word, let everybody know that we're live. So, going to go onto YouTube now. Hoi da doi da doi da doi da doi. Gotta add another window here. Okay. Working on it, everybody. Hope everyone is having a good day so far, or good evening, wherever your time zone may be. Okay, so. Alright. Got that link. Shared in my Discord. See if anybody's popped in. Hello, Zeji. Welcome to the chat. Junk Dog, yes, the dolphin suit is on. The dolphin suit is on, I promised. The Twitter post got to 100 likes, so you get to see it. Like I said, I'm just sharing the stream with everybody else. And then we will jump into it. Share, share, share. Almost done. Let's see here. Got this and Twitter left. Just checking in. Yeah, I know 7 p.m. around your time, Crash. It's so interesting how many people I have that are subscribers in Europe. That is definitely interesting to me because I'm in the U.S. myself, particularly in Wisconsin. So, yeah, 1 o'clock my time. So, okay, last thing I got to do is just share it to Twitter. Goes to show how prepared I am in this regard. Okay. Alright, power system. Tier list stream. Live on YouTube now. Dolphin suit is on. We got that. Alright, with that, okay. We are good to go. Oh, 8 p.m. by Junk Dog. 11 a.m. by Zeji. Oh, so Zeji's on the East Coast then. Okay. Got it. Alright. Well, I have spread the word to everybody that the live stream is now going on. Like I said before, had this post gotten to 100 likes on Twitter when I announced it, I was going to wear my dolphin kigu. Which in no way for me is a punishment because I used to wear this all the time at conventions. But just so people are aware, it does have a tail. So it is a full body kigurumi. Got the hood, got the little fin on top. Yep. So like I said, full dolphin. Hello to Fireblaze. Hello to Cockroach from the UK. Sup Mpanzu. Yes, the dolphin suit is fire. I will agree with that. Yes, Outlook. The dolphin transformation has begun. I have fully become the dolphin man. So, which I will say this. Since the live streams have been as popular as they have been, let's say this. If this live stream, if the video as a whole, if this video hits 100 likes on YouTube, the next stream that I'll do, I will wear the dolphin kigu again, but I will put on Orphe's cop outfit. So I will put on like the white button-down shirt, I'll put on the black pants, I'll put on a tie on top of the dolphin suit if we can get this stream to 100 likes. That is what I will do. So yeah, I will, if we hit that benchmark, I will do that. So I could make a dolphin noise if you wanted to, but I don't think I don't think I want to. So that being said, so plan for today's stream. As you can see on the screen, so we've got 6 tiers, and we have an absolute crap ton of series that I will be putting into this tier list. Oh my god. There are 62 series that I will be putting in this tier list. It is going to be insane. It is going to be absolutely bonkers. So I'm going to, compared to the Shonen Jump stream last time, I definitely have to streamline the process. I got to streamline it. I can't go absolutely crazy, because if I go crazy on this, we will be here for longer than like 2 hours. Which I'm not opposed to, you know, a 2-hour stream if we get to that point. But we'll see how my body holds out. I will put it that way, because otherwise the last stream would have been a little bit longer had my body held out better. But that being said, just checking in on the comments here. How many likes for you to swim in the ocean and jump through a hoop? It wouldn't take an ocean. If once like a swimming pool opened up, let's say this. If I'll do this, okay. If the channel can get to 2,000 subscribers by, let's say, just a safe number, if we can get to 2,000 subscribers on the channel by April, I will shoot a video of myself dressed up as a dolphin swimming through a hoop underwater. I think that's fair. I think that'd be interesting. Yeah, I can put that on the, I think on the Twitter feed too. Yeah, if we can hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of April, I will shoot a video of myself dressed as a dolphin, swimming in a pool, and swimming through a hoop. I will do that. So, but that being said, I don't. Somebody said there are doubles. From what I checked, there aren't any doubles. I mean, that being said, there are several magic power systems throughout like anime, manga, and manhwa. So there will be, you know, certain duplicates in that regard. But otherwise, I made sure that there weren't any like crazy duplicates or anything in that regard. So yeah, haha, I was joking, but now I want it. Like I said, if we can get my channel to 2,000 subscribers by the end of April, I will shoot a video of myself swimming in a pool through it, as dressed up as a dolphin and swimming through a hoop. If we can get to 2,000, so other than that, like my last stream, going back to the tier list that we've got here, I will be structuring it so that there are 10 series in every tier, except for like probably S and A tier, which will have 11 in each, just because there are 62 series on my list, or 63 or something. There's a lot here. Other than that, the way that I'm going to be ranking things is based on subjectivity with my enjoyment. So things that I'll be critiquing things on would be how unique it is, um, how balanced it is, like is it like a well thought out thing, stuff like that. So this isn't me objectively ranking power systems, because it is really hard to be I wouldn't want to be objective. I don't think you can be objective. Like you can't directly compare, for example, like Chakra from Naruto compared to like magic in, oh, any series. You can't compare it to like necessarily like the Soul Reapers and whatnot. Um, so yeah. That being said, um, I'm gonna go straight on into it. Like I said, I'm gonna try and keep certain things brief, just because we've got a lot to go through. Compared to the last stream, we don't have 20 entries; we have over 60. So yeah, we're gonna have to go on through it. So we start off with Excel World, which is based on a light novel series. I personally watched the anime. For those that don't know, Excel World, it's a series where people, it's supposedly it's like in the far off future from like Sword Art Online. It's supposedly in like the same kind of universe, and the digital engagement has become a lot more intense, and there are certain people that can do like a full dive into the online world, and one of the like high stakes games is Brain Burst, and people become burst linkers. And with burst linkers, your abilities, your appearance, and whatnot are based on your insecurities in real life. Um, so, for example, like the main character is a little chubby guy. Like he wants to metaphorically spread his wings and ends up becoming the one person in Brain Burst that actually has physical wings. Um, so for me personally, I think this is really interesting. The fact that it's a system, again, based off of your own personal insecurities manifesting as certain abilities. I think that's really cool. Um, and I think that the anime is really great. The different character designs and whatnot are really cool. In terms of a power system, I'd say it's pretty fair. Like, it just like a video game, you also like level up as you get more experience and whatnot. So if I had to give a ranking to Excel World, for now, I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it's interesting enough. I think there are definitely gonna be series that beat it, so it's probably gonna go down at some point. But for now, we're gonna put it there. And hello to anyone else that is new to the chat. Thank you for stopping by. I am in full dolphin gear for anyone stopping in now. Next up, we have a Gravity Boys with penis magic. You heard that right. The Gravity Boys power system, right before they axed the manga, they created penis magic. And essentially every man has an attribute based on various energies and whatnot. Apparently if you are Baba, you have the Omni attribute and have every attribute of penis energy or penis magic out there. It's it's a Gravity Boys in a nutshell, because Gravity Boys is just a weird gag series. I personally enjoyed it, and just for the sake of the meme, I am putting I'm putting a Gravity Boys in S tier. Oh my god, people are gonna come in here and be like, "What? This guy is high. This guy is high as hell. Like, how can you put a Gravity Boys in S tier?" And I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Oh boy. Yeah, welcome to my stream, everybody. Welcome to my very, 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 very subjective stream. Oh boy. Okay, moving on here. Um, so next up we've got Air Gear with the Regalia. So I am not caught up yet on Air Gear at the moment. I am 50 chapters into it, but I love the fact that with the Air Gear, with like the fights and whatnot and the customization, it's all in the physical like Air Gear skate boots. The fact that you can customize it with like the different wheels, like the different body, different brakes, and I guess the regalia are just that kind of like the evolution with it. Um, from what I've seen, one of like the different aspects with like the regalia is that they have like different wheels and whatnot that are really cool. Um, I think it's really interesting that like with air gear it's like all focused in the boots. Like by all means, like different people have like different fighting styles and whatnot in air gear, but the fact that like the customization lies pretty much entirely in the air gear boots themselves, I think is really cool. um where would I rank air gear? I would say for now I'm gonna put air gear, I'm gonna put it above Excel World. So I think it's interesting. I think it's unique. Um, we'll see how things stack up later. Again, I can move things up or down. We'll see how things rank. I definitely put it above Excel World. So we've got that. Um, but yeah, I think for now putting Air Gear in A is pretty solid. Um, is Soul Eater going to be on this list? Soul Eater is on the list. Fire Force is also on the list. There again, there are there are 60 plus series that are going to be in this tier list. So I'm trying to go through as many as I can uh in like the shortest amount of time, because if I don't like, if I take too long, all of these is going to take way too long. So yeah, Soul Eater is on there. Um, you know what? I kind of regret not putting Beyblade on the list. I will admit I did not put it on there. But at the same time, I did ask for suggestions and whatnot. Beyblade didn't come up, and I didn't think of it offhand. So yeah, Beyblade would have been interesting though. Just the customization with tops. So I do agree with that. Next up, we've got Black Clover, the first of the many, many Magic series that are on this list. With Black Clover, I really like that there is the more or less the clear ranking with um, like the different grimoires. At least in the Clover Kingdom, if you've got the 3-leaf clover, that's pretty basic. If you've got the 4-leaf clover, you're stronger than that. If you've got the 5-leaf clover, that's where like the demon magic comes into it. Um, I really think it's interesting that based on the different um, kingdoms, they have different outlooks on magic, different um, things that are there. But uh, yeah, oh yeah, you know what? I am just realizing now that so there are, okay, okay, I'm seeing what happened. Yep, okay. So, yeah, you guys are right. There are duplicates on here. I when I edited the thumbnails, I re-added things in. Um so I did add two other series. I added Full Metal Alchemist and I added Zatch Bell. So yeah, now I'm realizing that yes, there I did duplicate things, but there are 60 series that are on this list. So yeah. Um, but yeah. Yes. So thank you guys for those that mentioned that it does reset. And yes, hello, Sandem. Hi. Welcome to the stream. So Black Clover, that being said, it's not that at the end of the day, it's not that unique in terms of magic. Like, you have spell books, you learn more spells as time goes on, etc., etc. So for the time being, I'm gonna put Black Clover in C. Again, it's not reinventing the wheel, and this is not a ranking of Black Clover. It is a ranking on the power system, and magic is one of the most basic things on there. Um, but yeah, okay. No, I'm not swapping a duplicate for Beyblade. I could. I'm not. We're not going to be here longer than we need to be here. So, Dreamland and Radiant did make the list. Okay, so anything that was recommended to me in the original post that I made or in the Twitter post that I made sure to add to the list. So anything that was suggested is here. So I'll say that. And that's part of the reason why we are at 60 series is because of that. So, next up on the list, we've got Bleach. And with Bleach, for me, Bleach is an easy S tier. And I would put it at the top for now. So the big reason for that with Bleach is that it's so, like, you've got so many different aspects of Bleach. You've got the Soul Reapers, you've got the Hollows, you've got the Arankar, you've got the Quincy's, you've got the Fullbringers. The fact that so many of these various groups and powers and whatnot have like various things and like various stages to them, I think is really interesting. Now, obviously, certain characters got more focus than others, so we didn't get to see, you know, the evolution for like every single character. But I really liked how everything did have a clear-cut system in terms of like, this is your base, this is the power up, this is the top of where your power is. And then they had other things on top of that. They also had the Keto system in there, which was Bleach's own form of magic. There are so many great things about the various power systems that are in play in Bleach. And like I said, for me, it really is an easy S tier inclusion. Like, it's super good. Like, who wouldn't want to have like the cool powers of like Soul Reapers and whatnot if there were no downsides? That it's like, Bleach is just awesome. Next up on the list. Oh, hey Sweet Tea, thank you for dropping into the stream. Thank you for coming. Also, and just so I keep saying it, hello to anyone that is new to the stream so far. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for joining the Dolphin Man, the fully realizing his dolphinness here. Keto should have been used more. Yes, Keto should have been used more. There should have been more with it, but the thing with Keto is that it always kind of came secondary to, you know, the sword play with you know, the Zanpakutos and whatnot. So I think it's really great that at least so far with Burn the Witch, they're focusing more on the magical aspect of it. So I'm interested to see how that compares to like Keto down the line. So, but no, not all 1 through 99 Keto was ever used. I'm very curious to like know if there like ever was like a list created of like all 99. It'd be really interesting. If like Kubo was just like, hey, yeah, here's filling out, you know, what I missed. I think that'd be really cool, but who knows if we'll ever see it. But like I said, back to the tier list. So the next one we got up is another gag series. We've got Bobobo. And the power system in Bobobo was the Super Fist power system, with Bobobo himself using the Super Fist of the nose hair. Yeah. The Super Fist of the nose hair. Which, the Super Fist of the nose hair, yes, on occasion, he would fight literally with his nose hair. But other times, any one of the given Super Fists was just an excuse to just do something absolutely bonkers, crazy, super weird. But that was the charm of Bobobo, because it was like you're going into this and like they're, the bad guys are for the most part trying to seriously fight Bobobo and the gang. And then you've got Bobobo like being like super fist in the nose hair, and then all of a sudden his afro will open up, and something like a kangaroo or something could just pop out of the afro and then punch the guy. And it would have a really, really weird, exaggerated thing. And like various other characters would have like super fist of etc., etc., etc. And it really was one of those things where it was, again, an excuse to do just whatever they wanted, because it's a gag series. Like that was the thing. And yeah, I really enjoyed when Bobobo was on Toonami as well, Sweet Tea. That it just I have a soft spot in my heart for Bobobo, because I do enjoy gag series. But yeah, like, and Bobobo as a main character is just so interesting. Like, yeah, he fits perfectly into like the gag main character role in terms of design and everything that he does. And it does have a manga. The manga was always weird in terms of like distribution and like who was translating it. It felt like it was never in order. But I would love to rewatch Bobobo one day, because it was very enjoyable. Where would I put it? Just because it was one of those things where it was like super random and whatnot, but at the same time really entertaining. I will put it in B tier for now. Like I said, it was really entertaining. It was really fun. But it was one of those things where it did have a lot of inconsistencies with it, but it was a gag series, so that's part of what it was. Next up on the list, we have Bone Collection, one of the axed series from Shonen Jump from last year. With Bone Collection, it did have an interesting premise. So in Bone Collection, like, you had exorcists that were trying to like exorcise yokai and whatnot, and then the main character, he really sucked at exercising. Like, he didn't have like anything that he could really do other than like this one yokai activation spell. And the female main character was I forget what the name of it is, but like the giant skeleton yokai. And so the interesting thing with Bone Collection is that depending on which bone from her body the main character would use, it would do different things. And it varied wildly. Like, there were so many weird and interesting things that like Bone Collection would do. So it was unique. But there were certain things and whatnot that they were all right. Like, again, it was it was gag based, so it is very similar to Bobobo, but it still did have utility. So that being said, I will put it for now. I will put it in B tier, and I will put it above Bobobo. Because it was at least a little bit more consistent, and again, it had a unique premise, so I like that. Okay. Next up on the list, we have Build King. Oh boy. So, Build King, we just recently discovered, and yes, I am still reading the Build King manga, mostly for the memes at this point. So I'm just putting that out there. With Build King, they recently revealed that there is a power system involving the vigor mechanic. The vigor, like revitalization, like that kind of energy. And they decided, hey, with Build King, there are like, I think it was like 9 different colors. And they had various different attributes, and depending on how you use them for a fight or depending on how you use them for building, they had different things that they could do. Now, I don't know how well this is going to be executed. That's the thing. But in terms of the premise, it is interesting. The fact that, like, depending on, you know, what kind of vigor you have, you can apply different effects to your buildings or to your fighting, and they are inverse depending on whether you use it for building or whether you use it for fighting. That is interesting. Whether or not we have a good execution of it is going to be a completely different matter. So, in terms of where I would rank it, no, I am not putting it in Build King tier. No, I am not putting it in D tier. Because it was just introduced and based on where it could go. Can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going to be putting it in C tier for now. I'm going to put it yeah. I'm going to put it below Black Clover. I can't justify putting Build King above Black Clover when Black Clover is more thought out so far. And like I said, the vigor stuff was just introduced, and I'm giving it a C ranking just based off of, you know, what it could be if it gets there. I don't know if it will. Like I said, it could get axed, so we'll see what happens, but based on premise alone, I am putting Build King's power system in C for now. So yeah. And yes, Pokesel, I did put Bleach in S tier. I know it's a good job. I was not going to put Bleach in anything lower than S tier, so. Luke, for One Piece, are you counting Haki and Devil Fruits as separate power systems, considering One Piece has definitely shifted from the Devil Fruits power to how strong your Haki is? So, as it is, I am counting power systems for a series as a whole. And that was what I covered with, like, Bleach, because Bleach obviously has, you know, very different things for, like, the Soul Reapers, the Arankar, the Quincy's, etc. And while One Piece, like, if I broke down things, like, separately for each series, we would be here a lot longer than we're already gonna be here. So I will be covering both Devil Fruits and Haki as one entity with One Piece. So yeah. Yes, Pokesel, I am cultured. I will admit that. I am very cultured. The power system is basically one of the best things of Build King because it's kind of interesting, unlike the rest of the manga. Yeah, it really is. Because I said this on Twitter. The recent developments with Build King, a lot of it feels like they're just kind of throwing whatever will stick at the wall, and at the same time, like, we're in essentially a tournament arc right now, and they're deciding to do the exact same plot twist that they had in the tournament arc for Toriko. It's the exact same plot twist, like at the exact same junction. Like, why? Nah, no. Anyway, moving on. So, the next one that we got up on the list is Buso Rankin, which is, like Full Metal Alchemist, a alchemy-based series. And with Buso Rankin, and for the record, this is actually a Shonen Jump series from way back in the day, like early 2000s. I know a lot of people don't necessarily know Buso Rankin. Very underrated series, in my opinion. It's short. It's 10 volumes long. The series was, in terms of the anime, I want to say it was like a 24 episode thing, but I really like Buso Rankin. And in Buso Rankin, the main character was, he used what was called a kakugane, which was a hexagonal alchemy thing that, based on the number and based on the user, the Kakugane would form various weapons. And they would use these weapons to fight homunculi. Um, and at one point in the series, they also had what was it? They had the homunculi also have Kakugane and fight as well. Kenshin's author. Is it by Kenshin's author? If it is, and that makes sense because the art style is very similar, I never realized that. Um, that is really wow. My mind is blown. I didn't even think that Buso Renkin was by Kenshin's author, but I think you are right. Wow. Yeah. Uh, anyway, um, with Buso Renkin, um, the like I said, the different Kakugane had like different effects and whatnot, like different styles, different weapons and whatnot, um, and like they had different abilities. I think they were very interesting. Like a lot of them did have very unique designs and whatnot. Uh, in terms of um alchemy and homunculi, where have I heard that before? I don't know. In any other series with alchemy. um, but thank you for stopping by, Poxel. I'm glad that you enjoyed me putting it in S tier. So thank you for that. Um, yes, Luke Soul Eater is in this list. I've mentioned it before. But yes, it is in the list. We're doing this alphabetically, so we have not gotten anywhere close to S tier yet. Um, but I would say that while it was interesting in Buso Rankin, and don't get me wrong, it was really cool. Was it all that unique? I, I guess to an extent. Like again, I really like the designs and whatnot. It wasn't necessarily like that full fledged again because it was a 10-volume series. So for now, I will put it in the bottom of C tier. Um, it might get bumped down to D. It probably will get bumped down to D. Not gonna lie. Um, but yeah, I think that Buso Rankin, it was interesting. The series as a whole is interesting. The power system, it's all right. It's nothing crazy. So yeah. Next one we got on the list is Chainsaw Man. So the main thing with Chainsaw Man is that for the most part the power is based on devil contracts or whether or not you are a devil. And depending on how strong of a contract you have with the devil affects your power and how much power that you can bring out of the devil. And if you are, you know, like a various devil yourself with like different abilities and whatnot, then there's power in that regard. I think it's like the devil contracts are really interesting. Again, like the fact that like there is that balance in terms of like at least for like the non-devils themselves, but like the devil users, for any one of them, like if you wanted to bring out more of its power, you did need to like give something in return for it. So I did like that balance. But at the same day, or at the same point, you do have to consider the fact that with Chainsaw Man, like devil contracts, um, they, you know, devil contracts aren't necessarily something new. It's not necessarily breaking the mold. Yes, the devil power does depend on the level of fear or whatnot. That is definitely a big impact with it. So that is a positive in its favor. Um, uh, Magical Index Scientific Railgun is not on the list. That was not one of the ones that was recommended to me, so I did not put that on. And I have not watched it myself, so it did not even cross my mind to put it on there. Also, hello, World Champion. Thank you for joining in. But that being said, like I said, at the end of the day, the devil contract system isn't necessarily something new. It's nothing really breaking the mold, but it is really well executed. So for that reason, I will put it at the bottom of A tier for right now, and see where things go after that. Um, Next up, we got Claymore. Claymore with the claymores themselves, the Yoma energy. So right now, you guys are getting some of my first thoughts on Claymore. Since I finished reading that for Crash's manga challenge. Um, but that being said, uh, what do we got for Claymore? So I really find it interesting that the Yoma and the Claymores themselves both have the that Yoma energy within them. Um, and depending on how much of the Yoma energy you bring out, you become more powerful, or you're able to do like certain various abilities. Um, uh, Sup Project Manga. I don't know who's on. I'm guessing this is Nox that's on, but if anyone else from Project Manga is here, um, thank you for stopping by. And yes, glad that you could come by. So thank you for coming. Um, Dressed up as a dolphin, so you thought you came to the perfect stream if you wanted Dolphin Man stream time. So yes. Um, but I really liked Claymore. I really liked that aspect of the Yoma energy. Depending on how much of it you use, the closer that you were coming to becoming a Yoma yourself. Um, I thought it was really well executed. Um, the premise of tapping into those monster energies and becoming a monster yourself, it's not necessarily something like new or unique per se. But I really like how it was executed in Claymore. And I really like that kind of biomechanical aspect that they have with like the higher level Yoma. I think that's really cool. Wasn't expecting that for a series that's very medieval in its setting. So I thought that was really cool. Where would I put Claymore and the Yoma energy and whatnot? Hmm. I I'm gonna put it in A tier. I'm gonna put it in A tier above Excel World, just below Air Gear. I think Air Gear is a little bit more interesting in the moment, so I'm gonna keep Air Gear at the top of A, for right now. But yeah. Um, just checking in with the chat. Cry Flow. Man, I swear I've never seen Axel's face before now, and he looks swaggy as hell. Uh, I appreciate being called swaggy as hell, despite wearing full Kigu outfit, with the tail and everything. So thank you for calling me swaggy. I appreciate it. Um, what else? Donnie's in chat. Hey Donnie, thank you for stopping by as well. Um, but yeah. So Claymore and A tier, we are moving right along. Oh my god! So we're 43 minutes into the stream, and we have covered 11 series. All right, we gotta speed things up more. Okay. Anyway, so next up on the list, we've got Dead Man Wonderland, with the blood manipulation. So with Dead Man Wonderland, they're able to manipulate their blood in various ways for different attacks and whatnot. Pretty cool. The fact that like the blood manipulators are like the big focus for like this criminal playground and whatnot, and like having them fight against each other and betting is really interesting. Um, it's also interesting that blood manipulation is kind of like the focus of the series, compared to um, like other series where like blood manipulation might be a part of it, but it's not like a focal point. Um, that being said, I guess this will be a bit of my own personal bias, I guess. There is another blood manipulation series on this list that I think is more interesting, um, and does more with it. Um, so I I think for now I'm gonna put Deadman Wonderland in D, just because this is the one where like, eh, it's it's interesting, but I think there are other series that do blood manipulation a little bit better. So that's why I'm gonna put it in D tier for now. Next up on the list, we've got Demon Slayer with the breathing techniques. So Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer. Um, with Demon Slayer and the breathing techniques, it's interesting with how flashy it is, but for Demon Slayer, it's one of those things where with Demon Slayer, they don't explain things really well. Like they don't explain like how where the like the influences are with like the different breathing techniques with the different hashiras and whatnot. Like it's an interesting premise, but it's not developed as much as I would want it to be. Like yeah, we get to see like things for like Tanjiro with like the water breathing and then like the fire breathing. Um but there are so many characters where it's just like, oh, this is the breathing type that I have, but like I'm not gonna explain why and stuff. So like it's good, but at the same time, like it's not explained well. It's really not. Just like at the end of the day, like it's really cool, like swordplay and whatnot. But it's just it's not well executed. Uh, so I'll just say that. Um, so, hmm, hmm, uh, really deciding if I want to meme this or not. Uh, uh, yeah, I do agree. Yes, Yatagami, I do agree that the demons are really cool with like the powers and whatnot that they have. So yeah, that does tip the scales a bit for me. Um, I was gonna put it in Build King tier, but I think we'll put it in D again, just because when it comes to the breathing techniques, they're not explained well enough. Like there's really cool elements to it, but it's not explained well enough at all. No, don't like it. So we're gonna put it in D tier for now. But moving right along, the next one that we got on our list is D Gray Man with Innocence. So I always thought that the Innocence in D Gray Man were really cool. Um, like the fact that like again, just like with like the Kakugane in Buso Renkin, they showed in various forms and whatnot, um, and they were able to take down. Boy, I'm blanking on the names of like the various villain things. But I always thought like it was really cool. The designs were really interesting. The fact that like you had like the different categories for the different innocents in D Gray Man, and like the just it really was interesting. Now that being said, like in terms of the innocents that we saw, like we saw like certain amounts of them, but like and some of them were really cool, but other ones were semi lackluster. Um, but I think in terms of design, in terms of the powers, in terms of like the tiering and whatnot, it was really good. Um, so I'm going to put D Gray Man in B tier. I'll put it at the top of B tier. I think it was pretty good. Um, it looks. I do agree. D Gray Man has some of like the best looking art and whatnot in manga. It's just a big shame that one, it had a massive hiatus at one point that really just kind of dropped a lot of hype, and at this point it releases quarterly instead of monthly. So we're lucky to get 4 chapters in a given year at this point. So as someone who has been always caught up on D Gray Man, it sucks having to wait. But that doesn't influence like the ranking and whatnot here. So just put it that way. Um, Next up, we've got Dorohedoro, which is another one that uses magic. Um, Interesting here that with Dorohedoro, uh, the way that they measure magic is with smoke output. And like if you have and like the quality of the smoke and whatnot. Um, at the end of the day, it is still basic magic. But it is hilarious to me that like the seemingly most powerful magic user in Dorohedoro, at least from the anime, because I have not read the manga yet. It's funny to me that like the most powerful guy uses mushroom magic of all things. Like you wouldn't think that like mushrooms are all that intimidating, but the fact that this guy can literally turn somebody into a mushroom and then turns around and eats those mushrooms is just ugh, um it's crazy. I do like the fact that with the magic users in Dorohedoro, they do pair up, and they have a ceremony that is overseen by like the devils and whatnot. But it is still basic. Like it's really fun, but it is basic. Um, so that being said, and again, it is magic. So like, it's really cool, but I don't. And this is just based off of me with the manga, or sorry, me with the anime so far. There's not as much that I could see yet. So, I am going to put Dorohedoro. Oh, don't want to do it, but I'm going to put Dorohedoro in D. And again, this is completely subjective. This is probably again, this is just based on my anime perspective. I enjoy Dorohedoro as a series. I do not think that Dorohedoro is a D series. I think it's really great. But like with the power system, like again, it is magic, and again, this is my personal opinion on it. That's just where I'm putting it. Um Next up, we've got Dragon Ball. Oh boy. Uh oh, sorry. Crash. Did the anime show how the devils are formed? They kind of did a little bit with Noi, but they didn't go into like the full thing. From what I saw. Like it was really interesting. Again, I think Dorohedoro is great, but it's still a magic system at the end of the day. And like there are so oh my god, there are so many magic systems on my list. It's not even funny. So yeah. But for Dragon Ball, it's really hard to pin Dragon Ball because there's not necessarily any given structured power system in Dragon Ball. Obviously with like the Saiyans, it's like with like ki and energy and like energy beams and whatnot. And I still think it's unfortunate that like while martial arts are still incorporated, like obviously a lot more of the focus on Dragon Ball in more recent years has been on beam struggles and whatnot. So like that's something that I don't necessarily like. The funny thing is when I made my thumbnails, I put the thumbnail for Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball Aliens. Because for the most part, if you're an alien, you have super crazy powers and whatnot, or access to super crazy powers. And when it comes to Akira Toriyama, depending on how weird your character looks, like some of those characters have just even crazier high powers. I think Ultra Instinct is interesting. I like that it's, on level with like the angels and the gods. I like that the gods have the power of destruction and whatnot. But with Dragon Ball, at the end of the day, it's a lot of flash, but not a lot of substance. like, yes, like it's thanks to Dragon Ball with like the Super Saiyans and like the hair and whatnot that like we have a lot of transformation things um that like are what they are today, but um it's not as great in my opinion. So for that reason, I'm gonna put Dragon Ball. I'm gonna put Dragon Ball in C tier. It's good. Like, don't get me this again. The rankings that I'm doing are not based on my enjoyment of the series. These are based on my opinions on the power system. So just putting that out there. Why isn't Build King in Build King tier? Because so the Build King tier is a meme. I would have made Boruto tier, but like let's be honest, Build King is the meme on my channel, so we're sticking with Build King tier. But yes, even Build King is not as bad as Build King. I think the justification was the power system hasn't been shown to be as meme worthy as other elements of the series. For Build King, yes. While Build King is definitely memey, the power system at least has some promise. We'll see how it's executed, but yeah. All right. So next up we have Dreamland, which is a French manga, um, and just like Radiant is. And I think it's really interesting that like French manga is getting like this push that it's getting right now. I think that is definitely interesting. The art in Dreamland and Radiant is fantastic. I need to read Radiant again. I watched the anime and I dropped it. I don't think it had the greatest anime adaptation. I need to read Dreamland based on what I read or what I heard about it and the images and whatnot. But with Dreamland, from what it was presented to me, the power system is phobias. And in Dreamland, in order to have the ability to use your phobia and whatnot, you have to conquer your phobia in order to use it. So it's very similar to Excel World in that regard, except in terms, sorry, instead of facing your insecurities, you're facing your fears. And once you conquer your fears, then you have those powers in the world of Dreamland. I think that is really interesting. I think that like that is such a cool premise that it definitely makes me want to read it. I think France is the second largest manga market in the world, so I think it's cool that French authors are making a space for themselves in the industry. That is really interesting. I never knew. I definitely want to look up that now. I'm definitely curious to know what the manga landscape is in France. But yeah, I guess for those of you that are in Europe, you would know that more. But I'm really curious on that. So where would I put Dreamland? The fact that you're conquering your fears in order to have the power of a phobia, so that you could have the power over like fire or flight or stuff like that. I think that's really cool. So I boy. Hmm. You know what? For now, I'm gonna put Dreamland in S tier. I think Dreamland and the concept of phobias is interesting enough to put it in S tier. I think that is really cool. I think that it's a nice contrast that like in order to access these powers you have to conquer your fears, and the fact that like you can do very differing things. Yeah, I'm putting Dreamland in S tier. Yay. All right. And it's been an hour and I have not drank any water yet. So yeah, drinking water. Oh boy. Okay. That being said, since we are at the hour mark, thank you guys for everyone that's been here so far. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Um, Still got a lot more tier lists to go, but I thank you guys for being here with me. Um, and for anyone that wasn't here at the beginning, I did want to mention this too, although many of you are probably already subscribers as it is. I mentioned this earlier. If this YouTube channel gets to 2,000 subscribers by the end of April, I will film a video of myself dressed as a dolphin, swimming in a pool, and swimming through a hoop in a pool. If we can get to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. I said at the beginning, saying it now again. So, yeah. So, all right. It was kind of suggested to me. I was like, oh, you should. How many likes will it take to get to you jump through a hoop? And I do like that idea, so I'm gonna stick with that. Um, so next up on the list, we've got Eden Zero with Ether Gear. Um, Ether Gear is interesting. It's very similar to Magic, in that with Ether Gear, any living thing, but also robots, can use Ether Gear for various things. I think it's really interesting that with I like the design of Ether Gear. I like that it shows up as kind of like circuitry on your body and whatnot. If you get if you like manifest your ability physically, like there are certain like electronic and like circuitry kind of style there. Yes, Anime Outlook, you get full credit for the genius idea on this. Yes, you do get full credit. With Eden Zero, I think it's more interesting than Fairy Tail with the magic and whatnot. Is it like that fully fleshed out? No. But I really do like the technological aspect of it. So that being said, I would put Ether Gear. Oh boy, where would I put it? Screw it. I'm gonna put Ether Gear in C tier. Um, I think Ether Gear is really cool. I like how it's designed. Um, Eden Zero, Eden Zero is kind of in the same universe as Fairy Tail, and they like reuse a lot of characters and plots and whatnot. Mashima likes to reuse a lot of things from his series. If you've read Rave Master or watched Rave Master, then you would know that Fairy Tail copied a bunch of things from Rave Master. At the same point, Eden Zero has also copied things from Fairy Tail and Rave Master. It's just kind of how he does things. But it is not a sequel. They exist simultaneously. If you read like the Heroes series, which was like a 10 chapter miniseries, but yeah, he loves reusing his stuff. He loves doing that. But yeah, I would say for now I would put Ether Gear in C. I really like the designs and whatnot. I like the fact that like anything living or mechanical can use it. But Ether Gear itself is kind of like a mechanical energy. So yeah, I can put that in C tier. Next up on the list, we got Fairy Tail. Oh boy, Fairy Tail is a magic series, and man. While Fairy Tail is great in premise, there are a lot of issues that I have with Fairy Tail as well. The with Fairy Tail, the Dragon Slayers at least are fleshed out, but then they were like, hey, there's also like demon slaying magic and god slaying magic without like facing gods and whatnot. Like they introduced things that were just kind of like the celestial spirits, that was interesting. But overall it's still another magic series. I'm gonna put Fairy Tail at the bottom of D tier for now. Like I enjoy Fairy Tail, but it's not reinventing the wheel with magic or anything. He always copies the main hairstyle of the main male and female, the mascot from the previous series, and probably some more. Um, yeah, he does. It's not, you're not, well, the main character always has spiky hair. And then the female character, uh, usually, well, I would say the last two had pigtails, but not, the first one had short hair, but it is what it is. Um, but yeah, they did use the power of friendship a lot in Fairy Tail, and that's why I put it at the bottom of D tier for now. So that's where I'm putting it. Next up, we've got Fire Force with the power of fire. So, right off the bat, the fact that firefighters in Fire Force use fire to fight other fire things, I think is really interesting. The fact that you have second generation fire users that can manipulate fire, and then you've got third generation fire users that can, like, physically produce fire, is really interesting. It has a lot of really cool uses that they've found. The fact that, like, they have the fact that there are so many different uses for fire in the way that they manipulate things, like kinetic energy or like thermonuclear dynamics or sound or stuff like that, is really cool. I think that aspect of Fire Force is really interesting. I would say with Fire Force, like, that is unique enough that I would rank it highly. And in that regard, boy, I'm gonna put Fire Force in B tier. I'm gonna put it just below D Grand Man, just because I like D Grand Man a little bit more. But I think Fire Force is really interesting, and the powers in Fire Force are definitely the best thing about Fire Force. Like the fact that, like, we've got all this fire stuff is solid. So yeah, I'm definitely putting Fire Force in B. And then, so alphabetically, since it was noted that, like, I did put things, or I did duplicate things. Next up on the list, we've got Full Metal Alchemist with alchemy. So I like that on a basic level with Full Metal Alchemist, almost anyone has access to the powers of alchemy. But depending on if you tried doing the forbidden style of alchemy, you could do alchemy without creating like the circle and whatnot. There were people that had very specific forms of alchemy, like Roy Mustang having like the fire. If you had if you had access to the like the philosopher's stones, you could have like just way more powerful alchemy. I think it was solid. I also love that, like, with Armstrong's character, the fact that, like, he could, like, punch things and then create like a bust of himself was awesome. And believe it or not, at one point back in the day, I actually cosplayed as Major Armstrong. For people that have been on my Discord server, I've shared pictures of it. But in terms of the alchemy and whatnot, how would I rate it? I think it was really well executed throughout the series. I think it was really interesting that, again, there was like a balance with alchemy, which is the premise of alchemy in itself, is that, like, equivalent exchange. There has to be something given up in order to create something. There is a fantastic balance with it. So for Full Metal Alchemist, I do think, like, it is really good. And I would say, in terms of ranking, boy, I'm gonna put Full Metal Alchemist at the. For now, I'll put it at the bottom of A. I think it's really good. I think it's really great with the alchemy. I think it definitely portrayed alchemy the best out of the various alchemy series that are out there. Um, it is still very similar to Magic, but I do again really like that there's a balance aspect to it. So that is a positive. Um, oh man, just getting dry throat again. A lot of talking, a lot of talking. But I enjoy being here with you guys, and I thank you for being here with me. So, um, fine saying, Fire Force is as bad as Black Clover, but with more interesting powers. I don't think that Black Clover is bad, but I do agree that Fire Force has more interesting stuff to it. Um, Luke said, I can never get into FMA or FMAB. They were always kind of boring, and it's a running joke of, oh, main character strong but short, which makes main character strong. It's so annoying. Um, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The short jokes with Full Metal Alchemist are obnoxious. Like, there's way too many of them. Um, but I really enjoyed the series. I never finished Full Metal Alchemist. I only finished Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I did watch the first Full Metal Alchemist movie. But part of the problem with that was like anytime that I turned on Toonami, way back in the day, when Full Metal Alchemist was on, it always played like the same 7 episodes. So like even if I wanted to watch all of Full Metal Alchemist back in the day, it was always just repeating the same 7 episodes, and so I couldn't make any progress with it. That was always my problem with like Fooly Cooly too. Though by all means, Fooly Cooly has way less episodes, but they always played like the same 2. So that's my problem there. Um, Next up on the list, we've got Gantz with the Gantz suits and the Gantz system. Um, I think Gantz is really interesting. The fact that like at the base with Gantz, everyone has the same, or at least the same access to the power suit. They have the same access to the gun and the swords. But as you level up and you get more points, you can get higher things in like the Gantz inventory, which was perfectly captured in the Osaka mission with how many people they had that were like super high, that were super high point getters. So like the fact that like the top thing that you could get in Gantz was this giant hulking mech suit, but like even like a few steps below that was like a smaller mech suit with like big fists and like wires coming out of the back like dreadlocks. I think it was really great. But yeah, that at least is what I consider the power system in Gantz, is like the technology and like the scaling of the technology. Um, and I think it's really done well. Visually, it is really appealing. Um, so yeah. And this was one of the ones I believe that was recommended to me in one of the posts. So that's why I included Gantz. Otherwise, I myself probably wouldn't have even thought of it. Um, it's also one of the few series that has a sci-fi focus that is really done well. So yeah. Um, where would I put Gantz? I think it's interesting enough to put it in B tier. Um, with Gantz again, like I said, it's sci-fi based. Like we get to see some of it later on in the series. We don't get to necessarily see a lot of it. I don't necessarily like the fact that a lot of things were just thrown out there in Gantz, but never uh, things weren't like completed. Like especially with like the vampires, like the fact that was just kind of like thrown out there, or like the fact that like we had 2 characters that randomly had psychic abilities, like, but there was never any explanation really. Like really cool stuff, just wasn't fleshed out as much as I would like it to be. I don't care what anyone says about that last arc. I will continue to enjoy the hell out of it. Yeah, no, by all means. Like, I think Gantz is enjoyable the entire way through. At the end of the day, like, the big thing with the last arc is that, especially with the ending, there's a lot of people that are like, I got really philosophical and whatnot. So, like, that kind of alienates certain people. And you've got some people that were like, oh, this is just like War of the Worlds, and I really enjoyed it. I still enjoyed Gantz. I will say that. So I agree. I thought it was good still through to the end. Okay. Next up, we've got God of High School with Charyak. Um, so for God of High School, I've only watched the anime. Um, I have not read the webtoon manhwa yet. I need to do that because I am very well aware that with God of High School, they condensed way too many chapters into like 13 episodes. Not good. They were trying to rush it in order to get to the next content stuff, the next arc. Didn't agree with it. Um, I think the abilities are really interesting. The fact that they're using Charyak to, like call like access like the power of the gods is interesting. And the fact that like they can, there are so many different gods from like so many different religions and whatnot. Like obviously the focus is still more on the Korean side, but there are various influences and whatnot. It's not uniform. At least from what it was presented, it wasn't uniform throughout. And the fact that like you have like random people that have very random abilities and whatnot, like it's interesting. And again, this is just gonna be me based off of the anime that I've seen so far. I think it's all right. Um, but at the same time, I know that with God of High School, the main allure to it is the power system and the fighting and whatnot. So I will keep that in mind. Um, so with that in mind, um, hmm, probably gonna get some God of High School hate from me on this, but I'll put it at the top of C tier. Put it at the top of C tier. Which means we are getting very close to pushing things down from the C tier to the D tier coming up. So, yeah. Um, Next up, we've got Hardcore Leveling Warrior. So this is another manhwa. This one I have not read at all. But it was one that was uh, presented to me. Sounds interesting. It's another one of those series. It's video game based. I heard that it's very very good in terms of how it's video game based. Um, like you have the different like skills and attributes and stuff like that. Um, Supposedly it's really well done. Um, for me, da, 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 uh, just based on the premise and whatnot, like it's interesting enough, but it is still video game based. I've heard good things, but oh, I'm gonna put it in the top of D tier. Um, no, no, I'm gonna put it below Doro Hetero. Um, no, we have not gotten to Saint Seiya yet. We've still got a lot to go. So buckle up in that regard that we are still going. But um, yeah, I have not read Hardcore Leveling yet. If I read it, maybe this would change. But for now, I'm gonna put it in D tier. Um, Next up, we've got Hell's Paradise Jigo Karaku with Tao. Um, Tao is another one where I'm 50 chapters into Hell's Paradise. I'm still reading it. From what I was reading so far, it's very interesting. Where like Tao is like the different elements to it. If you're like a master of Tao, like you are able to do regeneration and whatnot. It's like a life force kind of thing. They like but at the same time, like if you're a human using Tao, it like eats away at your life force. Um, I think it's interesting so far. Um, I would say for me personally, I'm more interested so far in the characters in Hell's Paradise than I am in the Tao itself. And I really like the land that they're in. So for Hell's Paradise, I'm probably gonna get some flack for this, but I'm putting it at the bottom of C for now. I have not read enough of Hell's Paradise yet for me to appreciate Tao as much. And again, I really enjoy Hell's Paradise. I enjoy it as a series. And I enjoy the characters a lot. The characters are its biggest strength, in my opinion. But like the Tao itself is like, it's all right. So that's where I'm gonna put it there. Next one. If Briggs, if Lord Brigo ever decides to check out this list, he'll see that I have History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi on this list. Thank you for stopping by, Crash. Thank you for being on here. Put Saint Seiya and Build King tier. We'll work on it. Okay, so, and I probably will put Saint Seiya in Build King tier if I had to be honest. But with History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi, I really like the fact that like this is a martial arts focused series. And there are so many variations and styles of martial arts that are seen here. And at least in terms of Kenichi, the measuring stick for him is more or less, him learning the different styles and like accumulating more as the series goes on and using those different fighting styles to fight the other characters. I really think like it's interesting how many fighting styles are actually represented in History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi. But yeah, I think it's really cool. History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi was also a series I started way back in the day, but really enjoyed. And it does have really enjoyable characters. The one thing that you have to be wary of is that it gets very ecchi. There's a lot of nudity at one point, which I mean is a positive for some people, but you're just putting it out there. So, for History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi, just because of how much of the focus is on the martial arts and the ranking and whatnot that goes with it, I think it is really good. I appreciate the fact that we get to see so many styles that we wouldn't normally see in a fighting series. So I'm going to put History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi in the middle of B tier for right now. I think it's good. All right. Next up, another one that is going to be a very, very easy S tier. We have got Hunter x Hunter, and we've got Nen. Nen is a power system that, by all means, has affected many, many power systems over time. That is not like deniable. Nen is such a great system because of how basic it is at its premise, but then its execution gets so interesting. The fact that like with Nen you can have certain abilities that are super powerful, but they come at a certain cost or specificity is really interesting. I think that's really great. I think that's really cool. We get to see so many awesome Nen abilities throughout the entire series. At some points it gets a little complicated, and at some points it gets very basic. I'm not gonna lie, the fact that we had Gon as a main character and his Nen abilities were based on rock, paper, scissors, kind of boring compared to Killua, who I have as the image for this tier list, who decided with Nen, I have experience with shocking myself with tasers and whatnot, so I am going to physically manifest electricity through my body. That's awesome. That's super cool. So I gotta put Nen in S tier, but I'm keeping Bleach at the top so far. I think Bleach is definitely cool, and that uniformity throughout Bleach is really awesome as well. Nen is great again, but it ranges so wildly that it is what it is. Not want to be a normie, but Hunter x Hunter is one of the best systems I've ever seen. Hunter x Hunter has a very concrete power system. It's very good. That's just how it is. So yeah. Next up, another series that I haven't read, but definitely one that I'm going to be reading in the future, especially after finding out that the artist is also the artist behind Blue Lock, which I didn't know. Jagan with the Fractured Humans. Um, the Fractured Humans are really interesting to me. Um, the fact that, like, based on people's desires and whatnot, like, people manifest into these fractured human monsters. Um, and there are frogs for whatever reason. Like the fact that, like, the parasite thing in this series is frogs is bizarre. Um, really interesting though. Um, at the end of the day, with Jagan, with the fractured humans and whatnot, like, it's another series that's based on, you know, a parasite infecting you and turning you into a monster, um, which is interesting. And like the frog aspect of it is interesting. It's a different take on it. How would I rank it? Uh, with Jigan, I think just based on the design and whatnot, I'm gonna put Jigan in B tier. For now, I think it's really interesting. Like I said, I need to read Jigan, but from what I've seen, like with the imagery and whatnot, and like based on the premise, I think it's interesting enough. Um, and it is super good. So I'm gonna put it in the bottom B tier. Um, but dear God, so right after that, oh boy, so we've got two more S series. We got two more S series in a row. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Um, JoJo's is great. JoJo is one of my favorite series. And stands are incredible. I gotta put JoJo at the top of S because stands definitely influenced. I think genres. I think stands influence power systems as a whole for anime and manga. Um, I really think that. Um, and even besides stands, but you know, the ripple and the spin and other things that we've been introduced to in JoJo have been so interesting. Uh, the fact that stands are all over the place. The fact that you can have like a humanoid based stand, you could have a stand that takes the physical shape of like a vehicle or a weapon. The fact that your stand can affect an environment. There are so many things that stands can do, and it's insane. Um, and one of the things that like Dio says in one of the parts, I won't specify which one, but the fact that like various stands, like while they might be you know, while they might be considered weak, it all depends on how you actually use them, and that determines how weak they actually are or aren't. So I thought that was really cool. For me, it's got to be an S tier. Um, and Jujutsu Kaisen right after that with Cursed Energy. Jujutsu Kaisen is like, how do I put this? Jujutsu Kaisen is kind of like a step up from Nen in terms of like um oh, even though the character writing outshines everything else in Jigo Kuraku, Tao is still a very strong energy system. I will probably agree with you that Tao is better energy system once I read more of Hell's Paradise, but and again, this is just me being 50 chapters in, and this is all subjective, not objective. That's why I've got it where it is right now. Just saying in that regard. But for Jujutsu Kaisen with Cursed Energy, I really like the fact that like Cursed Energy is a thing that is affected by birth, affected by upbringing, like the fact that you've got very different styles of cursed energy based on like negative emotions and whatnot. The fact that you have domain expansion, which is that like elevation of cursed energy. The fact that cursed energy is used both by jujutsu sorcerers, but also used by like curses themselves, I think is really great. I'm going to put Jujutsu Kaisen in S tier. I'm gonna put it under Hunter x Hunter for now, um, just because Hunter x Hunter definitely has been more fleshed out. Like Jujutsu, at the end of the day, Jujutsu Kaisen is still like 3 to 4 years in. It's really great so far. It's fascinating. The powers are really interesting. I'm waiting to see more people do more things. But it is an easy S tier. We'll say that. Um, Kaiju number 8. So the power system for Kaiju number 8, we're basing it off of the Kaiju gear, so the suits, the weapons made from Kaijus, and then the Kaijus themselves. It's really cool, and it's very Tokyo Ghoul like. That the weaponry and the suits are made from the monsters themselves, and that with the kaiju, they're based off of like a Richter scale rating in terms of their power level and whatnot. Um, and I think it's really well executed. Like, we're still learning more about Kaiju number 8 as the series goes on. We're still learning more about the suits. We're still learning more about the weapons. We're still learning about the Kaiju. It's still very much in its infancy, considering it's only 20 some, or I think it just hit like 30 chapters about recently. But it is really good for what it's done so far. For a series that's only 30 chapters in, it has done a lot, and it's really, really great. But as I was talking, I was kind of thinking to myself, oh yeah, there are a lot of elements here that were done by Tokyo Ghoul first. Um, so that is going to affect my ranking in that regard. So I think that everything that we've seen so far in Kaiju number 8 has been great, and that we're gonna see more of it soon. But for now, I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier because I think its ceiling is a lot higher. There's a lot more potential there, but it's still in its infancy, so I'm not gonna put it anywhere higher than that yet. Okay. Next up, we've got Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Jojo got ranked S during your phone call. Very sorry that you missed it, but hey, Jojo is an S tier, so that's great. Yeah, Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Reborn is a series very near and dear to my heart. It's one of the first Shonen Jump series that I finished in terms of like the long ones, since it's over 300 some chapters long. And Reborn with the Dying Will Flame system is so unique to me. The fact that in Reborn that like everything for the most part is based off of aspects of the sky is super cool. Like the fact that like the sky is like the main one. You've got the sun, mist, clouds, lightning, rain. I know I'm missing one. And I honestly can't think of which one that I'm missing. But I think that's really great. And I would say that it's really unique. It's something that it's something that we haven't seen in terms of like other shonen series using the sky, other than Air Gear. Obviously Air Gear using the sky is the whole thing, but the fact that we're using specific elements of the sky, and then one family doesn't use elements of the sky, and that was sadly an arc that was never animated, and I'm still pissed about it. I think that it's unique enough to warrant putting Reborn at the top of A. Now that being said, one of the things that I realized with Broken Ronin on Twitter was that the beginning of Reborn is very rough to get through if you're not a fan of gag series. With Katekyo Hitman Reborn, it's very like Mission Yozakura Family, for anyone that reads that. It's very similar to that in terms of it started with a gag focus and then took a pivot toward battle shonen. But it took over 60 chapters to get to that point in Katekyo Hitman Reborn. I enjoy gag series. That wasn't a problem for me, but I recognize that for other people, that's a bit of a harder ask. Um, so yeah, it's really unique. It's really cool. I love it. Katekyo Hitman Reborn definitely deserves to be at the top of A. So we'll move on. Next up on the list is Kemono Jihen with the kimono powers. I have only been watching the anime for Kimono Jihen. I have not read the manga yet, but I have loved Kimono Jihen. It is definitely one of my favorite series from the winter 2021 season. It's been fantastic, really well animated. Love the vibe of it. Love the opening theme song. Really great. With Kimono Jihen, all of their powers are based on their kimono DNA and whatnot, and how that affects them. The series as a whole is really interesting. The different kimono powers are really cool. They vary widely because they're based on like different, like, again, like monsters, yokai, stuff like that. And it's really interesting. I like the characters as a whole. I think that it is unique enough to warrant being ranked decently. Um, I would put Kemono Jihen, let's say, in C tier below Kaiju number 8. I think it's really cool so far, and I'm excited to see more. But I'm also just watching the anime so far, but I haven't watched enough of it to rank it higher yet. So that's where the subjectivity is coming with this one. Didn't Yozakura take that serious turn around 60? Thought I saw someone mention it on the timeline, but not sure. Yozakura took the battle shonen pivots. I want to say between chapters 40 and 50. I think sometime in there. Like, don't get me wrong, there were still elements. There were more elements of battle stuff in Yozakura family way earlier on compared to Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Reborn was definitely more gag focused than Yozakura was. Yozakura had it, but there was more with that. Okay. So, no, the next one is not from Fist of the North Star. The next one is from a very cursed video that I made back in October of last year, and it is the only age-restricted video that I have on my entire channel, and it is from the series called Libidors. Libidors, for those that can kind of pick apart certain words and elements from it, Libidors, the power system is based on libido. So, your sexual urges and whatnot affect how you transform into a monster or whatnot, and your fetishes determine certain powers that you have. It is a very, very cursed series, but I'm fascinated by it. And like I said, I made a video on it back when I when I first came back to YouTube for my Spooktober content. I made a video, like I said, specifically about libidors, and I gave it an 18 plus age restriction, just because one of the things that is in libidors, other than like the sex aspect of it, is that there's sexual assault stuff that's in it. So obviously that is a very sensitive topic. That is why I had to age gate it. But yeah, the name of the series is Libidors. So libido with an R and an S afterwards. Libidors is so dumb. I just for the meme, I gotta put Libidors in Build King tier. It is interesting. Again, the fact that like your fetish and like whatever your personal insecurities are affect how you transform and whatnot. But it's just so weird. Like I gotta put it in Build King. And next up, we've got Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic, with Rook and the Jin and whatnot, and the Jin equip. Magi is awesome. Magi is super cool. The magic aspect of it is really awesome. The designs for the Jin equip are super cool. And the ultimate magic is also really awesome. I think that design and whatnot, it is super cool. Really love it. Um, I have mixed feelings about the ending of the Magi series, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the power system in here. So Rook, the magic energy that like is in all life, is in everything and has a light side to it and a dark side to it. And depending on if you fall into like the depravity, like that, it turns into like a dark Jin equip. You've got the four magi or magi themselves, um, that have like their own mastery of the Rook. Um, I think that Maggie is really really awesome. Um, I like that for the most part, most people only have one Jin equip unless you're super crazy, in which case you have more than one. Um, but yeah. Um, oh, bye, Junk Dog, if you're leaving. Thank you for coming if you are leaving. Since you're saying I'm saying my buys. Um, I think that Magi is really good. I think it's really interesting. Um, if I had to put it somewhere, uh, hmm, let's put Magi. You know what? I'm gonna put Magi above Chainsaw Man. I'm gonna put it in an A. I think it is good enough. I think Magi is good enough to be an A tier. I think it is well warranted enough. Um, and I really do enjoy Magi. I think it's a great series. I don't think enough people talk about Magi. Um, Definitely read the manga, just because the anime never finished covering everything. Listen to the openings and whatnot. Magi has fantastic openings, and the endings are pretty good too. But the manga is fantastic. And we go from one magic series to another magic series, because we've got Mashal up next. Um, Mashal Mashal's magic is interesting based on the fact that, like, depending on whether you are a 1, 2, or a 3 liner, it affects your magic in different ways. Like, the first level is like your base level stuff, second level is like the higher level, and then the third level affects like the physical shape of your wand, and it's really, really cool, but it's still in the infancy of its series. Um, and we've only seen like a few people doing things in like Mashal. And obviously, with Mash himself, he doesn't have magic. He's just stupid strong in comparison. But the main power system in Mashal is magic. Um, I think it's really interesting so far. Um, we just haven't seen enough of it. Um, so, I mean, that being said, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm gonna put Mashal in. Boy, I'm gonna put Mashal below Black Clover. Both Magic series. That's we're gonna put it for now. Um, Next up, we've got My Hero Academia, and I'm full at C tier. So if anything else goes into C tier, it now has to drop down below. So, yeah. Um, with well, I guess would I rank Mashal that high? Now that I'm thinking about it, no. I think Doro Hedero's magic is more interesting. So I gotta put it there. Mashal as a series is great. It has not done enough yet, so I'm gonna put it in D tier. My Hero Academia is up next with the quirk system. So quirks are very interesting. One of the things I really like about quirks is that for the most part, any quirk that you have has a drawback to it. I love a system of checks and balances. That's really great. Todoroki is the only one that is, different in that regard because he has ice and he has fire. And, like, they counteract each other. There's still exhaustion with it. So Todoroki is not perfect. Let's put it that way. But everybody has a drawback to their quirk. And for the most part, if you have a very, very strong quirk, the drawbacks to your quirk are even stronger. Goes with the quirk singularity theory as well. Like, the stronger quirk that you have, the worse things that it can do to your body. Just how it is. So I really appreciate that aspect of the power system, that it is as good as it is. Um, do I think it's S tier? No, I think it's A tier. I think it's good enough. Like uh, but they also very wildly. Um, like I'm always a fan of the ones that are more biological quirks, but the ones that are like the more mechanical stuff, or things that just like, I can shoot a cannonball from my mouth. Why? They're really interesting. Um, I'm gonna put My Hero Academia in A tier, and I am going to put it under Air Gear. I'm gonna rank Air Gear higher than My Hero Academia. I think again, My Hero is great. The fact that there is that checks and balances with it is what makes it strong, and really good. So that's where I'm gonna put it. Next up, we've got two more that are also probably going to be ending up in S tier. Just how it is. With Naruto, we've got Chakra. Um, Chakra is what helps create, the different jutsus. I love the fact that there are the variations in ninjutsu. You've got ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu. You've got the different eyes. You've got the tailed beasts, which are giant manifestations of chakra energy. Naruto's power system is very solid. The fact that there's the different attributes to ninjutsu, and how they, counteract each other, or hinder, or boost them, that's really great. I think that Naruto does very well. The tailed beasts, like I said, are really interesting. It's just very unfortunate that we don't get to see enough of them. And I think that the eyes are fantastic. If I had to rank it, I would say Naruto goes, it goes in S. I'm gonna put it below Nen. I think Nen is the better power system, but I think Naruto and Ninjutsu, Naruto as a whole just is a great series in terms of like how well it does everything with his powers. So I think it's great. Regardless of what you think of Naruto itself, I think that the power system is done very well. And then One Piece. So with One Piece, you've got the Devil Fruits, and then you've also got Haki. The addition of Kekai Genkai inherited by blood is interesting as well. Yes, with Genjutsu. Um, King Zenin. Axel, why is Build King in C? Because the power system is the only decent thing about Build King. Build King itself is Build King tier, but the power system is at least interesting. And I put it in C tier based off of what it potentially could be versus what it is. That's why it's there. Anyway, with One Piece, love the Devil Fruits. Love that, you've got the three types of Devil Fruits. And that, at least in the beginning of the series, that was how we, kind of measured things. If you were Paramecia, for the most part, you were the bottom of the barrel. If you were a Zoan type, you were really strong, and then the Logia types were just kind of like the be all end all. If you had elemental powers, you were pretty much the best. And then Oda was just like, but then there was Haki, and then Haki was able to kind of balance out the series and make more people as a whole really interesting. Haki is very basic, but well done. With Haki, you've got enhancement, you've got observation, you've got Conqueror's Haki. All of it are great. Ryo is really interesting. Ryo is still one of those things where it's just like, it's a thing. We can kind of explain it, but also not. So it is what it is. But Devil Fruits themselves are really cool. The only thing that I will say against Devil Fruits is that while, yes, it is very unfortunate that if you eat a Devil Fruit, you can't swim. Let's be honest. How many naval battles have we actually had in One Piece? The vast majority of the time, they are on dry land. The water aspect does not come into play more often than not, unless it is specific to the plot. So that drawback is something that's just like, it's not great. It really isn't. Um, Again, the devil fruits themselves are really cool, and a great element to the story, but at the end of the day, it's still like a superpower thing, and the drawback isn't as great as what it is. Um, but um, that being said, it is really cool that you have certain devil fruits that you wouldn't think are useful at all, but then they turn out that they really are. So I think that is really an interesting aspect of it. For that reason, I'm still gonna put One Piece in S tier, but I'm going to put it below Dreamland. Above a Gravity Boys, but below Dreamland. It's an S tier. It deserves to be an S tier, but that's where I'm putting it. Oh boy. Pirate One Piece is a pirate anime without many sea battles. That is kind of sad. It really is. Like, despite the fact that this is a pirate series, so few things actually happen at sea. So it is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Um, uh, Welcome to the chat, Usama. Thanks for joining us. Um, Next up, and it's you can't tell by this image, but the next up we have is Overlord. And Overlord, based off the light novel anime manga series. Power system here is with magic and with magic items from like the game world. So the magic in uh, Overlord is really interesting. Um, yes, Dorohedoro is on the list. And for the Dorohedoro is on the list, and I want to clarify this. This is based off of my opinions on the power system, not how I enjoy the series. I really enjoy Dorohedoro. I don't think that Dorohedoro is a D ranked series. It's also important to note that I'm trying to balance this out as much as possible, and have like 10 or 11 series in each tier, for the record. Um, the magic items are interesting in Overlord, and the magic is interesting as well, but it's not as fleshed out as I would like it to be. Like, yes, I understand that there are several different tierings of magic. I want to understand more of the differences between them. And with the magic items, we see so many of them, but at the same time, they're also just kind of like thrown out there. They're cool, but it's not as fleshed out as I would want it to be. So for Overlord, as much as it pains me to say it, while I really enjoy Overlord, I gotta put it at the bottom of D tier. It's really cool for what it does. Overlord is one of my favorite isekai series, but that aspect of it is very basic. Um, all right. Um, Next up, I'm gonna take a drink here real quick. All right, we're about 2 hours in, and my body is still holding, so we're good. We're good. Anyway, next up we got is Phantom Seer, and Phantom Seer is with shamanism. Um, the things that we've seen with Phantom Seer so far have been really interesting. The fact that like the shamanism, for the most part, most of the ones that we've seen so far have had some kind of familiar or whatnot, or different like phantoms that they're able to manipulate and use for their powers is really cool. An Gyoki is super awesome. He's super powerful, like he's way too powerful, and Iori can't fully control him, so that's why he can barely use him. Um, but I think that so far it's Phantom Seer has been very interesting. And I think it has a very high ceiling, but at the end of the day, I will say this, like Phantom Seer is another like exorcism series. We have a lot. It hasn't brought anything unique per se to the table yet, but it does everything well. So I will say that. Um, so for Phantom Seer, while I really enjoy the series, I'm going to put Phantom Seer in D tier below Mashal. That's where I'm putting it right now. Um, uh, I wonder what Goblin Slayer, Fist of the North Star, and Berserk would be like. Okay, so the reason why I didn't include Goblin Slayer, Fist of the North Star, and Berserk, or One Punch Man for that matter, is they don't really necessarily like have a uniform power system. Like, yes, you have like powerful individuals and whatnot, but like you don't have like a given power system, like a uniform thing to judge them on. So I couldn't put them in this series, like, or I couldn't put them in this tier list. I couldn't do it. That's the reason why. I can agree with that take on Overlord. The magic is really kind of underwhelming. Generally, Ainz do clap them cheeks. So, oh yeah, Ainz is one of the most powerful protagonists in Isekai. Period. He is super overpowered. Like, but the magic itself, while interesting, there's not a lot to it. I wonder if Mushoku would be on here in the future. From what I've seen, this could be one fleshed out series. The magic system also feels like it could. Yeah, I'd say in the future, Mushoku Tensei definitely could be on the tier list like this. The big thing with Mushoku Tensei is that, like, while there has been more of a focus on the magic side of things, we do know that there are the different styles of, like, the sword school, which is really interesting, like the different sword school fightings. And I'm interested to see what else there is with the series, but I am anime only for Mushoku Tensei, so because there wasn't enough for me to go off of yet, at least based off, like, other than the magic, that's why I didn't put it on the list. So I'll say that. Kind of cool we have exorcism and demon slaying genre in anime and manga. Yeah, it is really cool. That being said, it is also a very oversaturated part of the market. There's a lot of exorcism and demon stuff out there, so just saying. Next up, we've got Platinum End with the Angels. So with the Angels, depending on what rank your angel is, you can fly, or you have red or white arrows. Red arrows, which make people infatuated by you, or white that can kill people. Outlook, I did originally have Kakaishi on the list. I did take it off just because of how many series I already had on this list. And while I remember bits and pieces of Kakaishi, I don't remember enough of it to have a good enough opinion right now, but also because of how many exorcism and demon stuff I already have on here, that's why I kept Kakaishi off. So I enjoy Kakaishi. Read Kakaishi if you haven't read Kakaishi. But yeah, just haven't. So hello, Inks Manga. Thank you for joining the stream. Yeah. Platinum End. It was an alright series. It had an ending that I didn't like, and the angel stuff is very basic. Like, cool, you can shoot people and make them love you, or you can kill them, and you can potentially fly, or maybe some of it but not all of it. And with the angels themselves, like, there's so much in Platinum End that is not explained or explained well enough. So for that reason, I'm putting Platinum End's power system and build king tier. It's interesting to a degree. Like, the series is more interesting than the power system, and the angels are more interesting than the power system. So I just, yeah, it's a decent series. The art is fantastic because it's by the same creators of Death Note, and the volume, the physical volumes are holographic, which is really cool. But yeah, I would put it there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Getting close to having to move things down. Next up on the list is Siren, another series that not enough people have read, and that's partly because it was never given an anime, despite the fact that it should have had an anime because it was over 150 chapters. But I don't know why Siren never got an anime. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. But Siren uses psychic powers, and depending on your psychic powers, you can do different various things. The main character has a psychic power where he can essentially create a hyper dense ball that just destroys anything in his path. But you have other people that, like, their psychic powers and whatnot are tied into their personality and things that they can do. It's like you've got somebody that was like a pyrokinetic. You got somebody that, like, has a split personality but is really good at the sword. You got another person that can, like, manifest a dragon. Various other things. Siren is a series that I always recommend to a lot of people to read because it was an interesting part of Jump's history, but it is super underrated because nobody knows about it. Like, no one knows about Siren, again, because it never had an anime. Despite, again, being a 150 chapter series. Don't know why. Maybe we'll get an anime one day. We better get an anime one day. We just didn't. Where would I rank Siren? The power system in Siren is really good, but it's not necessarily the focus per se of the series. Just because the focus of the series is more so about changing the future, in like a post-apocalyptic world. I would say that Siren can go in B tier. I'll put it below Kenichi. Siren is really good. It's a really good series. I recommend it. To my knowledge, it is in the Shonen Jump app. So you can read it that way. So it's really good. Next up, we had one French manga on here. Now we're going to have another one. We've got Radiant with Fantasia. So, with Fantasia, only certain people can use it, and you have to have a special fabric that allows you to manipulate Fantasia. Most people have it through gloves. You have the one group of characters that have it as underwear, and then it can be used in various ways, with obviously a magic focus. And then the bad guys have like their divine powers. I'm speaking very generally here because I have only watched the anime, did not finish the anime, need to read the manga. But at the end of the day, Fantasia is very similar to magic. It is a magic-based system. And I think Radiance is really cool. I think the character designs are interesting. The Fantasia is alright. But if I had to rank it, I think that the magic is more interesting in Dorohedoro. So I would put Radiant. Boy. I'm gonna put Radiant above Phantom Seer. I'm gonna put it in D tier because again, it's a variation on magic. At the end of the day, so I'm gonna put it in D tier. Next up, we've got Rave Master. Rave Master, the first big Mashima series prior to Fairy Tail, prior to Eden Zero. Rave Master is really cool. The main power is the Rave sword, the Rave stones, and then the sword can transform into 10 variations of the sword to handle different things. As the main character collected more Rave stones, he was able to power up his sword and his abilities, which is really cool, and they had to use those to beat the Shadow Stones, which were essentially the dark equivalent to the Rave stones. And you had a lot of really interesting characters, a lot of very interesting powers. Rave Master is where the concept of like dragon humans first started, and I think that the dragon-based characters in Rave Master are leagues better than in Fairy Tail, and I think that Eden Zero is definitely approaching that point where like it's getting as good as Rave Master. I still think that Rave Master is Mashima's peak, and I really hope that Eden Zero is able to meet that, if not exceed that. And it's doing very well so far. I think Eden Zero is leagues above Fairy Tail. You've heard it here. Where would I put Rave Master, Rave Stones, and whatnot? At the end of the day, it is still a sword-based series, but it is very interesting. Me personally, I know I keep moving things down in the B tier, but I'm going to put Rave Master in B tier below Siren. I think Siren's more interesting with the psychokinetic powers and whatnot, but Rave Master is really, really good. Okay. Next up, we've got ReZero and the magic system in ReZero. So, complete transparency here. I have not watched or read ReZero. It is on my to-do list. I have not gotten into it yet. But I've heard so far that ReZero with its magic is very interesting and very good. Most people are only capable of certain attributes of magic. There are some people that are capable of using multiple attributes of magic. Very solid. I've heard very good things. So the ranking for ReZero is going to be a mix kind of like public reception and whatnot. I think that like it's solid enough. So I would, but at the same point, it is still magic. Like that is the key thing. It's still magic. Um, so just based on how people really enjoy ReZero, I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it in the kind of the magic tier. I'm gonna put it. Uh, we'll put it at the top of C tier. I have not watched, like I said, I have not watched ReZero. I haven't done anything yet with it, so yeah, I'll put it there. Um, next up, we've got two Build King tier series. We've got Saint Seiya and we've got Samurai 8. Um, so Saint Seiya, this, yeah, I know I've got a lot of content ahead of me for ReZero. Once I finally start watching ReZero, I will have a lot of content. You know what? It's probably better though that I'm not watching ReZero yet, because I don't want to figure into that algorithm, and then get stuck in that algorithm, because I know that is a problem for a lot of people. I really like, I like being a general YouTuber. I like being able to cover what I want to cover. So it is what it is. Saint Seiya. It's interesting. The armor is based off the stars and whatnot, but it's not. I guess it's nothing necessarily special in that regard. Just being an armor-based series based off the stars. I'll put in Build King for crashes. For crash, put it there. And then Samurai 8. Samurai 8's power system is dookie. The fact that Samurai 8's power system was so complex yet so dumb at the same time is ridiculous. Like, Samurai 8 is like, oh, you are a samurai and your power consists of your sword, your cybernetic animal, your spirit, and then the praying from a priestess. And that was the only thing that the priestess did, was pray for you. So that was a big mistake there, automatically making it so that the women in the series, all they could do was pray for the guys. What the hell? No, bad. But then on top of that, you had it where at one point it was just like, oh yeah, we have it so that like you also have to have certain stats in order to do certain techniques and whatnot. But then you have like 10, 15, 20 chapters in, you have a guy literally destroying a planet. Like, well, why just jump the shark? So bad. Do I think it is Platinum End bad? No. Do I think it's Libido is bad? No. But it is bad. So I'm putting Samurai 8 in Build King tier. Just bad. Bad. Next up, we've got Shaman King. Shaman King with Furyoku. So, Furyoku is your shamanic power. The more Furyoku you have, which is spirit power, the more that you can do with the spirits that you have, and the more powerful abilities that you can manifest. I love Shaman King's power system because I love seeing all the different religious influences that are on this series. And for those that are going to be experiencing Shaman King for the first time with the anime, things are going to go nutso, and it's awesome. I love that there is like a power, like a ranking based on like the spirits that you have. Like, if you have more of a human based spirit, you're more often than not going to have like a lower end to your powers. But if you have a god, you have a god. Like, you are super strong. And it's really cool to see how they're manifested. Like, whether it's basically like a weapon, or you're manifesting like the spirit is kind of like a stand or a mech. It's super cool. With Shaman King, obviously it's very similar to like an exorcism based series. 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I've got Okay, I can put 3 more up there. Um. Okay. I'm gonna put Shaman King above One Piece. I'm actually gonna put it. I'm gonna put Shaman King. I'm gonna put Shaman King right under Naruto. But I really love Shaman King. I think it's fast. I think the battle system is really interesting. I think the fact that like when you die, you get stronger is insane. Um, but it's gonna be nuts. So I'm really excited for the people that get to experience it for the first time. So good. Um, Next up, Shangri-La Frontier. So I included this one in. It's another video game based series. Um, it's really interesting. Like I love what I've seen so far with Shangri-La Frontier. I love the fact that like it is video game based, but it's really good in terms of how it's structured with skills and whatnot. But I love the fact that like the main character essentially gets stronger the more trash games that he plays and the more that he learns how to handle games that are awful in order to handle a game that is like ranked really really well. um I think Shangri-La Frontier has been very solid. I've only read the manga. I have not read the light novel. Definitely recommend it to anyone that has not read it so far. It's in Weekly Shonen Magazine. um so I'm gonna put it um in, but that being said, it's still a basic video game system. I'm gonna put it in D tier. I'm gonna put it. I mean, I've heard Hardcore Leveling Warrior is better, so I'm gonna put it above Demon Slayer. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Um, but in comparison, next up we've got Shield Hero, and I'm very conflicted with Shield Hero because there's so much that we don't know with like Shield. Well, if you just watch the anime, there's so much like I don't know. Like the fact that like everything is like so skill based, but we don't understand necessarily why. Um, and like the magic weapons are really interesting. Like the shield is really cool. Like all the stuff that you get to do with the shield and all the skills that are based around with it, it's really awesome. I don't think there's enough explanation with it. So that's my one problem. I think Shield Hero is really great. I love it. Um, but this might be a hot take, but I'm gonna put the power system at the top of Build King tier. It's good, but it's another video game based series, so that's just where I'm gonna have it. Um, and this one was asked about so much, and it's finally here. Soul Eater, Soul Resonance, and Madness. I love Soul Eater. I think it's really good. I hate the ending. I hate the ending. The ending is bad. It is very, very bad. I don't like it. I don't like the ending of Soul Eater. It is the most anticlimactic ending. Just hate it. The series as a whole, up to that point, great. Just don't like that aspect. I really like the aspect that you've got people that turn into weapons, and then they have the technician that wields the weapons. If you're able to consume 99 souls, and then a witch soul, you're able to ascend to a like a Death Reaper level in terms of like your abilities. And I like that those people are like a cut above the rest. I love the madness aspect of it, like where like certain villains, the more mad they are, the more powerful they are, and some of the protagonists and whatnot tap into the power of madness. I think that's really cool. I'm going to say that for Soul Eater, I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. Because I think it's really unique for what it is. I really like a lot of the aspects of Soul Eater. Like I said, the ending wasn't as great, but I think as a whole, it's very solid. I definitely recommend Soul Eater. Have you read Soul Eater manga or just anime? I watched the anime and I've read the manga. And I completed the manga. I did not complete the anime. So that is why my opinion is what it is on the Soul Eater manga, because the ending is so anticlimactic. It really is. Like I don't know how anyone could argue that it isn't an anticlimactic ending. Not that anyone has tried to do that, but yeah. Anyway, next up on the list we've got Terra for Mars. Terra from Mars is another series that I find very interesting. So with Terra from Mars, for those that haven't read it, you've got a bunch of humans that have been genetically altered to have various characteristics of bugs or animals once they essentially activate that DNA in their bodies with like a drug or whatnot. In Terraform Mars, they have what is called a Mars ranking, where they rank everyone that has these powers based on like how strong that they are. And it's really cool to see various aspects of animals and insects magnified to a human level. Like it's really really cool. The unfortunate thing with Terraform Mars is that it is a death fodder series. So there are a lot of people that die. A lot of people that die without getting to do anything, and a lot of people that die early after doing one or two things. But it is really awesome, and I love seeing what it is. I guess one could argue Killing Bites is kind of similar in that regard, but I do enjoy Terraform Mars a lot. And I think that it is solid enough to put it in A tier. So I'm gonna put Terraform Mars in A tier, bottom of A tier. It's very good. I recommend it. The only problem is it's on a hiatus right now, and I don't know when the hiatus is gonna end. So that's bad. Not great. So it is what it is. I apologize if I'm kind of speeding through things toward the end here, but we got a little bit more to go, and the stream has been going on for 2 hours already, so making my way through it. Tokyo Ghoul with the Ghoul organ, the Kakuho. So I mentioned with Kaiju number 8 already that like Kaiju number 8 feels very much like Tokyo Ghoul, because the ghouls themselves have the Kakuho, which is what like gives them like their tentacles or various powers and whatnot, which are really interesting. And like if you eat more flesh or like you eat other ghouls, you become like way too crazy powerful. But then the villain organization also kills ghouls and uses that ghoul organ for armor or weapons, etc., etc., etc. And I think it's really awesome. We don't talk about the ending to the Tokyo Ghoul anime because there was no ending to the Tokyo Ghoul anime, and it was never created. I don't know what you're talking about. I still need to read the manga. Need to put that out there. I enjoy Tokyo Ghoul for what it is, and I think it is really awesome. I think it's really cool that those that are like half ghoul are more powerful than the full ghouls. That's interesting. I would say I love how I just keep moving stuff down from B and just putting stuff in the middle. I'm going to put Tokyo Ghoul in the middle of B tier under Rave Master. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. So that means I've got to move stuff down. So Jagan gets moved down to C. Jigo Kuraku gets moved down to D. And Overlord gets moved down to Build King. So, the animation team that did the first season of Terraform Mars was godly, debating if I want to start collecting the manga or not because IRC, it's been on hiatus for several years. I don't blame you. And I do agree that the first season of the anime was godly. If you're going to watch Terraform Mars, watch the first season. Do not watch the second. The second season is garbage. Absolutely awful. They did a different animation studio. They drastically reduced the quality of everything. Bad. First season, amazing. Super cool. Wish that at this point I wish that the second season was never made because the animation was awful. I really want it to come back, but who knows when it will. So next up on the list we've got Toriko. So contrary to Build King, I love Toriko. I absolutely love Toriko, and I love how unique Toriko is with the gourmet cells. So for those that don't know, with Toriko, everything in the world of Toriko is edible. The plants, the animals, the monsters, everything. And then everything in that world has a ranking based on how either monstrous that monster is or how difficult it is to ascertain that plant or animal. It's really cool. And with the gourmet cells, the more you eat, the stronger that your gourmet cells become, And if you eat things that are highly compatible with your body, you become even stronger with that. And I think it's really awesome. Oh, hey TerexGG. I'm not going to say your real name on stream because I don't know if you want to have that name out there, but I thank you for coming on. Hi, buddy. Glad that you could be here. I don't think it was the same studio for both seasons of Terra from Mars. I could be entirely wrong. I don't think it was. Could be wrong. But Toriko. I think Toriko is great. I think that because of that food aspect of it, it is really, really interesting. And I would rank Toriko highly because of that. So for that matter, I'm going to put Toriko, and people might hate me for this, I'm going to put Toriko above My Hero Academia. Because I think the gourmet cells are that interesting. Personally. Terra is fine. If you chat more in the chat, then I'll just call you Terra. That's fine. But that being said, next up on the list, Togen Anki. So this is a newer shonen series, came out last year. The big thing with Togen Anki is that you've got two factions. You've got the Oni, which use blood manipulation, and then you've got the Momotaro, which are... they're the evil organization that are exterminating the Oni because they believe the Oni are bad. It's one of those, like, the protagonists are antagonists, the antagonists are the protagonists, that kind of thing. In the Momotaro, they use, I guess they're, it's technically classified as like they're Momotaro germs or like smoke or whatever particles compared to the Oni's blood manipulation. I think it's a really cool concept, and I think it's a lot better than Dead Man Wonderland. I think there's more into it than that. There's also an elemental aspect to it. There's some Oni that actually have an elemental affiliation, and they're regarded as Kishin in comparison. So I'm very excited to see where this series goes. I think that it'll be really interesting later on. And obviously with blood, the drawback with that is that if you use too much blood, you become anemic. But it's really interesting to see how blood is manifested in different ways. I think that the series is still new enough where, like, there's not enough to it yet, but I'm very interested in where it will go. So because of that, I will rank it higher. I'm gonna put it in C tier above Build King, which is gonna drop Dragon Ball down to D. And that's going to drop Fairy Tail down the Build King tier. And I know some people wanted Fairy Tail and Build King tier to begin with, so now you got your wish. Next up, we've got Tower of God. And I'm just realizing we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 series left. So we're getting close here. Tower of God has Shinsu, which Shinsu is like the water spirit stuff that's in everything. People swim in it. People have powers of Shinsu. It's developed in various ways. I think Tower of God is interesting. I've watched the anime and I've read a third of the manhwa. I think I've gotten up to like the train arc, like the beginning of the train arc. I have not finished the train arc, but I think it's interesting enough. There are a lot of people that say, oh, like Tower of God is like the One Piece of manhwa, and like the world building is interesting. I'll say that. I think the characters, like, they introduce some interesting characters, but there's not as much connectivity as One Piece has. That's what puts One Piece up at the top where it belongs. I think Tower of God is fine. It's nothing that great. So I'm gonna put Tower of God below Phantom Seer, personally, and that'll bump down Dead Man Wonderland to Build King tier. Next up, we've got Undead Unluck. Undead Unluck is amazing. I think Undead Unluck is fantastic. The fact that, like, the abilities are called, or the protagonists are negators. You've got artifacts, you've got UMAs. There's so many interesting things that go into Undead Unluck. And it's a very unique take. The fact that, like, again, the ability is negation, rather than, let's say, like activation. It's a very different take. There's a lot that goes into Undead Unluck. I think it's really interesting. Um, I think in that regard, Undead Unluck, I definitely want to put Undead Unluck in S tier. I'm gonna put it below One Piece. It's still like 50 chapters in, but I think Undead Unluck deserves it. Um, After Undead Unluck, we've got World Trigger. Um, so another transparency thing here. I have not watched nor read World Trigger. I have not yet. Um, I am excited to do so because it does sound interesting enough. And the abilities sound very, very interesting with Tryon, which Tryon is like everybody has a Tryon creating gland that is in like around their heart. I'm not very good at explaining this, but like different humans are capable of outputting various level of Tryon. Um, and like depending on how much that you can output, you like become stronger. Your Tryon output starts deteriorating at the age of 20. So from what I read, there's a lot to World Trigger in the power system. So for me, that does warrant putting it in S tier. Um, Again, since I haven't watched nor read it, I'm gonna put it towards the bottom of S tier. But I'm gonna put it in S tier. Enough people have asked for it to be put there, so that's what I'm gonna do. That is what we're doing. Um, Next up, Yu Yu Hakusho with Spirit Energy. So, Yu Yu Hakusho is great. The fighting is great. But the power system is very generic. Let's be honest. Like, the fighting is really cool, but like at the end of the day, I think we can all admit that the power system in Yu Yu Hakusho is very basic. It was it did lay the groundwork for Nen, I will say that, but it's not as well done as Nen is. So I still think that Spirit Energy is great, but it is still average. So while I think that Yu Yu Hakusho is an S tier series, I'm gonna say that the power system in Yu Yu Hakusho is B tier. I think that it's fair to say that it is B tier. Um, and I'm gonna put it below Tokyo Ghoul, which leaves us with two final series. Um, there's also Sacred and Demon Energy, and Yusuke is mixing of different energies. That is true. Um, and that is still very good, and that's why, like, again, I'm putting it in B tier, not in like C or D tier. But I still think that it is basic to a certain extent. Um, so the last two that we've got are Zip Man and Zatch Bell. Um, Zatch Bell I love, Zip Man not so much. So Zip Man was a canceled series, part of the U19 club. Zip Man had very great art, and the concept was like different zippers would manifest as different suits and abilities and whatnot, and it was an interesting premise, but the execution was eh. So it's worth including because like it was interesting to an extent. It's just the execution was not good. So I'm gonna put Zip Man in Build King tier, and I'm gonna put it below Samurai 8. What is not a oh yeah, territories were good. Again, like Yu Yu Hakusho kind of laid the groundwork for Nen, but Nen took it that step further. So like Yu Yu Hakusho did introduce very interesting things, but I think that Nen was the perfect execution. Zatch Bell, on the other hand, Zatch Bell is really cool. Zatch Bell was another Toonami show way back in the day. I loved Zatch Bell. The manga, the final arc was insane. Like, dear God. For those that don't know Zatch Bell is a series where 100 Mamoto children are sent to Earth with a spellbook, and they must find a partner that will help them fight to become the Mamoto King. everybody, or all the Mamoto fight to destroy the book of the other Mamoto, and whoever is the last one standing with their book fully intact becomes the next Mamoto king. When your book is burned, you are removed from the human world and sent back to the Mamoto world. Different Mamoto have different attributes and things that they can do. They vary wildly. The main character's attribute was lightning, and as you become more experienced and you do various things, you acquire more abilities and whatnot. And with that in mind, like there are like varying levels of spells. Like once you get to like the fourth spell, the fifth spell, the sixth spell, like the power level gets insane and it's super cool to see. But even then, like there is like true forms of various spells. And it's really great. I can't recommend Zatch Bell enough. It's another one of those series where like it's very gaggy in certain parts of it, but the action is super cool and there is a lot of really great parts. I would put Zatch Bell in A tier, and I'm gonna put Zatch Bell. I'll put Zatch Bell at the bottom of A tier, and I realize that I've got to bump things down because I promised to have a pretty even. Well, no, I'll keep things as it is. So, with that being said, guys, we have made it to the end of the stream. Holy cow, that was 2.5 hours of talking and discussing power systems and tier listing, and wow, just crazy. Thank you to anyone and everyone that stopped in, or if you've been here the entire time, you guys are the real MVPs. Thank you for sticking with me through all of this. Just to recap, I'm just gonna do the S and the A rank. I'm not going to go through the B and lower ranks. So, in my opinion, the top ranking power systems are JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Bleach, Hunter x Hunter, Naruto, Shaman King, Jujutsu Kaisen, Dreamland, One Piece, Undead Unluck, World Trigger, As a Gag, A Gravity Boys, Katekyo Hitman Reborn, Air Gear, Toriko, My Hero Academia, Claymore, Excel World, Magi, Chainsaw Man, Full Metal Alchemist, Terra from Mars, and Zatch Bell. Those are my S tier and A tier series for power systems. And again, as a recap, this is my opinion on the power systems, not on the series as a whole. There are a lot of series, if this was ranking the series themselves, would be in very different places on this tier list. But these are my opinions on the power systems, which ones I think are unique, which ones I think are balanced, which things are not that great. We had way too many Magic series on here just because Magic is, it is what it is. But again, thank you guys for being here. I will stream again next Friday. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, beginning of the stream, in the middle of the stream, my next subscriber goal for the channel is 2,000 subscribers by the end of April. And like I said, if we hit that subscriber goal, I will film a video of myself in my dolphin, Kigu, swimming in a pool, swimming through a hoop. If we get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of April. Anime Outlook was the one that came up with it, and I give them full credit. So that is what we'll be doing. It is my hope to do another stream this upcoming Friday, since these have been well received so far. Still deciding what kind of stream I want to do. It'll probably be shorter than this. Going 2.5 hours was very long. But again, I want to say thank you to everyone that stopped by, everyone that hung with me till the end here. And for now, I'm Axel Ablaze, and I am going to go drink more water. I'm going to go eat a bunch of gummy bears. And I'm going to get out of this very warm Kigu. One last dolphin tail.